on, Craig.
Gonna work.
Don't you do it. Don't you fuck up, Craig. Seems to be doing okay.
Wonderful. I wish I could tell Safari to just always allow access on this website. It asks every time.
Yeah. That's silly.
It takes 1 second to click yes, but
It's too much work.
it is.
What?
Didn't we say on a previous recording that all of modern human history is trying to reduce button
number of
presses?
clicks. That's absolutely correct.
Let me make sure it's taking the correct microphone. Yes, it is. Oh, there's gamepad push to talk and apply echo cancellation.
That's cool. Hi, Maddie Grace.
Hello. Sorry about that. Before decided I needed to update.
Yeah,
okay.
It does that. It updates.
We went to IKEA today, which is not 40 minutes out of town like it is in Austin. It's 40 minutes out of Milwaukee, which is an hour and a half away from here.
Is it?
Yeah, which
It's a bit more of
sucks.
a deal.
Yeah, because we bought
Like
all
20
of our
minutes for me. It's great.
we bought all of our stuff online, and our couch that we bought online is covered by a 10-year warranty, and the armrest broke off. So we called them, and they were like, yeah, awesome. Just bring it in and we'll replace it. And I'm like, no, I bought it online. I don't want to drive to fucking Milwaukee. And they're like, oh, not a problem. We'll tell the store to ship it to you. So then the store calls me and are like, yeah, we don't have like shipment for just one piece this size. Like the armrest piece is like a middle size, so it's not like a freight and they bring me a new fucking whole couch, but it's not just ship it through the normal mail like a small item. So it's like that middle piece. They're like, we don't really have a way to get it out to you. Can you just come in? And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to. But Summer was like, hey, we could take a day trip. We haven't been to IKEA in forever. And apparently, Oak Creek, Wisconsin does not have a mask mandate or a lower the amount of fucking people in your fucking store mandate. So it was anxiety inducing the entire time. And I hate it. And I'm exhausted. And I hope I don't have COVID. And it sucks. So I'm exhausted. So I have caffeine so that I don't be exhausted on the recording.
I got caffeine and alcohol so that I can have a fun time.
Oh dear. I just have caffeine.
And salsa. Actually, I'm going to read up on the salsa real quick, and then I'll be ready to go.
Man, I love salsa.
Nothing better for a podcast than eating on mic.
Yeah, especially eating loud, crunchy chips with wet sauce.
Wet sauce.
Yeah, like you could probably get away with eating a bread on a podcast. Like that's fine
If you were discreet.
Yeah, but crunching and sploshing are the worst things for audio.
Crunching and sploshing.
Yeah, that's the new platformer coming to Xbox. Crunching and splashing.
Crunching and sploshing is the drive time radio show under the RPG Book Club umbrella.
What's that?
We're talking about how you're going to be crunching and sploshing if you're eating chips and salsa.
I'm going to mute myself while I'm eating them.
Okay.
That's good.
Have you joined Craig?
Yeah, I already did that.
Cool.
Give me 2 shakes. I am doing something not important, but I want to do it anyways.
Me all the time.
IKEA. Just some oak and some pine and a handful of Norsemen. IKEA. Selling furniture to college kids and divorced men.
What are you
Everyone has a home, but if you don't have a home, you can buy one there.
Pretty sure IKEA isn't.
Was that Maddie, Grace?
I said I didn't know IKEA had a theme song.
It does, and it's by Jonathan Colton, and it's incredibly catchy. And I managed to go through the entire IKEA trip without it popping into my head until we had to go get a piece for our Billy bookcase, because the bridge is talking about all of his friends at IKEA, and it's all the things that are named after people. And it starts with Billy the bookcase says hello, just got a table, his name is Ringo. And because we went to the bookcases, it's now been stuck in my head for the past 4 hours.
I bought a bookcase a while back at IKEA. I built it all by myself, and it fits perfectly between my windows, and I put my video games on it.
Nice.
I haven't thought about Jonathan Colton in a really long time. Is he still active?
Yeah, he just put out a new album fairly recently.
Making his gay little songs.
Yeah, so he...
Ain't that the fellow what did the Portal songs?
Yes. He did a thing for a while called thing a day or thing a week or whatever. And he
that's right.
He made a whole bunch of songs, and that's where all of his good ones are. And his stuff since then has not been as good. It hasn't been bad, but it's just not been as good. And his most recent thing is a cover album, and they're all fine. And it's all covers that don't get covered very often. But I miss stupid little, I have to do something today, so I'm going to write a song about fucking Skull Crusher Mountain or whatever. And I miss the levity. I don't like real music. Real music sucks. The unimportant thing that I'm doing is we got a bunch of rechargeable batteries and a new battery charger, and I wanted to see how cool it looked.
Oh, that reminds me. The new battery I got for my Wii U gamepad did not fix it. Apparently, it's probably a bad charger, but the gamepad battery I got is higher capacity anyway. So, whatever.
That's good.
And it didn't cost much. So I ordered a charger.
Well, there's that at least.
Nice.
And if that doesn't work, I'll just cry and never play Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Right.
Yeah. And it'll be on the day that you decide to give up that they'll announce that it's coming to Switch. I am ready-ish. What about you guys?
I'm ready, period.
I'm ready.
Awesome. Our top 5 is Nintendo Direct stuff, right?
Yes, which was a hot topic. Now it's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'm going to go get the list again so that I can decide my things.
Yeah. I just did. Okay. You all ready?
Yes.
Cool. Maddie didn't respond. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I am. Although, where is the top whatever? Where is that posted?
It's in host chat.
I thought so.
Search for Nintendo Direct, I guess.
Good idea. All right, I'm ready. It was the image. That's why I couldn't find the list of things, because it wasn't a list. It was an image. Got it.
All right. Oh, Jesus. Welcome to RPG Book Club LongCast, the podcast where we play a little bitty bit of a biggie big video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
And today we will be discussing episode 3, part 1 of Final Fantasy XIII-2. But before we get to all of that, there was a big chongus of a Nintendo Direct a couple of days ago, and normally we do evergreen topics, but we're excited, so we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite things from that Nintendo Direct.
Let's do top 3. I think it's too easy if it's top 5, because there's not a ton of things, and especially not a ton of things that are going to be top contenders.
Yeah, and then if there's interesting stuff we want to talk about, we can do honorable mentions. Yeah. And you say a couple days ago, but this got rescheduled a couple times, and now it's been like 11 days or something. Yeah. But it's still exciting, and the stuff hasn't come out yet, so...
Yeah. Yep. The only thing on this list that has come out was the demo for Triangle Strategy.
Which is okay.
Yeah. It was not going to make my list, so it's fine.
All right. Who's starting us off?
I'll go ahead and mention the big one. Live Alive is getting an HD 2D remake and a Western translation for the first time ever, and it looks great.
I think that we have to play it after our Square moratorium is over. I've played about 50% or so of the original game, and it's an absolute masterpiece. It's a brilliant game. The original game is absolutely fantastic, and the new remake of it looks like it's got beautiful graphics. So I'm wow.
Yeah. I think Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy don't look great. I think they have way too much effects on the graphics, but the trailer for Live Alive looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks fan-frickin-tastic. Like it looks like an HD Xenogears more than the Xbox 360 bloom over Super NES graphics, which is what Octopath and Triangle Strategy tend to look like. It looks real good. And it was already going to be in our year after the Square moratorium is up, and now it's like we definitely have to.
So is that your number one?
It's not my number one, but I figured it was going to be on all of our lists if it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think I have my 3.
Okay.
My number 1 is Chrono Cross. They announced that Chrono Cross is coming to Switch in a HD sort of HD port remastered type thing. There's a couple of caveats. All the new graphics look like complete fucking garbage. They gave a fucking like AI or like neural net or like Next Neighbor our HQ4X or some kind of shit to all the backgrounds, and it looks like shit. It looks horrible. And they didn't
take into account that the backgrounds were oil paintings before, so now it's like trying to up-res them as if they were like 3D and high def, and it just makes it look bad, like the worst one.
It looks disgusting. Looks like shit. The second thing about it is it's got new fonts that look like complete garbage. It's got new character portraits that look like complete garbage. It's like, hey, remember the really weird, unique, characterful portraits we had before where we got some famous, like, mangaka or something to fucking do them who wasn't normally a video game guy? Now it just kind of looks like generic anime. Is bad. And the fourth thing is they even gave all the characters new character models, and they're worse. Most of them are like thinner, like they're a little bit less like chubby, chibi, cartoony, and they're more like they look like they have more like realistic body proportions. But mostly that it's not that realistic body proportions. It's not like they went from FF7 to like FF8. It just looks like they're all thinner. Basically, it looks like they all fucking replaced them with models like. They're just weirder. They all have like, or at least the ones I've seen, like Kid has like a thinner, sharper face instead of having her chubby little cheeks. and that's true of a couple of the characters as well. It all looks like shit, but every single one of those things can be turned off, and you can simply play. You can simply play original Chrono Cross, but the 3D models are in crisp HD. And also, apparently, there's an all-new remastered soundtrack, which I'm really looking forward to hearing that. And it is the original aspect ratio, so it's literally just the original game, but it looks like a little better. And it's
does it have fast forward and stuff?
Oh yeah, with some your typical new features. There's like a no battles mode, so like honestly, that's great. More people will get to experience a really wonderful game. I hope people play it. I hope it expands. I hope it opens people's eyes. You know, I hope some new people get exposed to the wonderful game that is Chrono Cross. Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, Chrono Trigger is not on Switch in any capacity.
It is not.
No, it's not.
Which is extra funny. So you'll have people like if they were both on there. I feel like a lot of people would just be like, "Oh, I've heard Chrono Trigger is better, so I'll just play that." But people might be interested in playing Chrono Cross. And the game works fine even if you haven't played the Chrono Trigger, honestly. Secondly, it includes the first ever official English translation and Western release of Radical Dreamers.
Yeah, Radical I can't Dreamers, believe... Sorry, go ahead.
Radical Dreamers, if you recall, is the really weird sequel that they made to Chrono Trigger for the Super Nintendo Satellaview accessory in Japan, where you would download games off of a satellite internet connection. It has been translated by fans, and I have played it. It's very good. It's proto Chrono Cross in a lot of ways. It's a text adventure game with really good music, and it's sort of proto Chrono Cross. A lot of the same characters appear, but it's not canonical because it doesn't coexist with Chrono Cross. Then again, we're talking about a game series with like alternate dimensions and stuff, so fuck it.
It's not canonical except for the part where it's referenced directly in a side NPC in Chrono Cross, because Chrono Cross is fucking weird.
But still, it can't literally be referenced. But anyway, it's great. I'm very excited to replay both of these games. I know I just played Chrono Cross less than 2 years ago for this podcast, but it's a game I think about very often, and I think this has finally made me decide the extra convenience of being able to play it on the go or on the toilet is making me a lot more likely to like really dig into it, play multiple times, capture screenshots, and maybe write that essay I've always been wanting to write about it. My second one, I'll say
Before
my second.
Before you move on, I wanted to point out that I looked up who the character artist for Chrono Cross was. It's Nobuteru Yuki, who is most well known apparently for the Vision of Escaflowne, which I believe was being discussed in the Discord.
It was
recently.
Nice.
Also worked on the Battle Angel Alita OVA, and also worked on Solo Torobo, Red the Hunter, and Tail Concerto.
Neat. I'll say my second one is as you have been saying, Live Alive. It's an amazing game, and it's only my deep love for Chrono Cross that puts it in second place. And finally, my third one is Earthbound. That's not new. It was on Wii U, but guess what? Earthbound is such a huge game in modern game culture. It's so influential on so many things, most notably shit like Undertale. But you know what? Despite it being like, and also there's tons of memes based on on Earthbound, like that one where something surprising happens and then it goes, what? Very funny meme. Despite all that, no one's actually fucking played Earthbound. Okay? Nobody's played Earthbound. And you know how I know? Because if they had, they'd have better taste in video games. Or they wouldn't like Earthbound. They either would like they would either like it and have better taste and make better video games if they're game developers, or they would decide that they don't like Earthbound actually, because it's a much weirder game than anyone realizes because no one actually has played it. I think a lot of people would just think it's like cute and fun or something. I don't know. So I'm really excited for Earthbound to get released in a very, 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 very accessible form. And also Earthbound Beginnings, aka Mother 1, which is definitely not a game for everyone, but again, very accessible. It's right there on your Nintendo Switch online thingy. And I think it'd be cool if people who played Earthbound went and gave that game a shot. So if you still haven't played Earthbound, now's your chance to play it finally. And if you decide after a few hours you don't like it, then go play 5 Dragon Quest games and then come back. that way you'll actually be able to appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, that's my 3. And my what do you call it? I don't know, y'all share y'all's 3 and then we can do if we have any. I have one honorable mention.
Okay, so my number 3 is 48 new Mario Kart 8 tracks.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I love Mario Kart 8. It's amazing. It's the second best kart racer, but it's kind of the first best kart racer because it's one that people will play with you.
Yes. It isn't on the Wii U.
And yeah, isn't stuck on the Wii U and the PS3 and shit like that. And it's doubling in size.
Yeah,
and I'm so excited.
I love how everyone was like Mario Kart 9, but Nintendo was like, you know what? We can't really think of anything that would differentiate Mario Kart 9 from Mario Kart 8. So let's just make Mario Kart 9 in Mario Kart 8. And it literally doubled the size of the game.
Frankly, it's safer because if they made Mario Kart 9, if they actually made a new game, that would imply that they'd make changes to its mechanics, its systems, and it could be worse.
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 is so close to a perfect kart racer that making another game that's different but is somehow even better and not worse or a lateral move would be pretty hard. So, I mean, fuck it. Give me 48 new levels, man.
I think that that report that Mario Kart 9 was in development with a new twist, I think that's probably true, but like to be released in like 6 years is what I'm thinking. So, but I'm just so excited to have 48 new Mario Kart 8 tracks. I'm going to invite my one local friend over and we're going to play all of them and it's going to be great.
Hell yeah.
Number 2 is Live Alive because, incredible. Finally. What the hell? And number 1 is the One More Thing, Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Oh, hell yeah. Boy, I cummed.
It looks so great. And like I love about the first 2 where it's like, they connect if you squint and you realize who the guy is, and you're like, so it kind of connects, and then there's like this and that, and you do it, and so, but then number 3, it's like, hey, your waifu from number 1 and your waifu from number 2, they're in a war. That's the trailer. Deal with it, and it looks great.
And I kind of feel like I should put Live Alive at number 1 because we knew Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would happen eventually, or at least that the new Takahashi game would happen eventually. But no, I'm more excited about Xenoblade than Live Alive, just a little.
No, I mean, here's the thing. It took a while, but like Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was good as hell. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was goddamn incredible. And not only here's the thing about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's not just that it's a goddamn masterpiece. It's that it seems like it's a goddamn masterpiece on purpose. What I'm saying is, it's such a confident and well put together game that I fully believe it wasn't a fluke, and that the people who made it can probably make another one that's just as good.
I absolutely agree, and I believe I said this on now forgotten podcast. Bernard remembers, but like Xenogears is pretty good. Xenosaga, as I remember it, is better. Then Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is better. And then Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is better. So Takahashi's just getting better and better at making games.
My man knows, like, they know what the hell they're doing. They really do. They really do. So I I don't even give a shit about the shit y'all were saying about waifus and lore, because guess what? I've only played about 15% of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But I still know it's a masterpiece. So I'm glad that there's going to be another one.
I've played 99% of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because I did like a 100% run, but lost my save while I was sitting outside the final boss room. Rip.
Yeah, the reason that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is my number one as well is we all knew it was coming, but like Monolith already has trailers out for a game that they're making, Breath of the Wild 2. This is our first announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and it's coming out in fucking 6 months.
Yeah, the fact that it's coming out in September, I love how Nintendo announces things relatively late in development, and we don't get a fucking Elder Scrolls 6 teaser before they've even started making it.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I knew we were probably going to see something about it this year, but I was expecting to see like a teaser saying 2023, and then in 2023 they're like, hey, we need a little bit more time, and it's like spring of 2024. I did not expect September 2022, and so even though I think Live Alive is probably more like hype for me, the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just like came out of nowhere, it's happening and it's happening now, and you have to live with it, just knocked it to the top.
Maddie Grace, are you dying?
I just think I got a particle up in there.
Okay.
I see.
So my number 3, because I just announced my number 1 and my number 2, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land was going to be one of my honorable
Big
mentions.
Mouthful mode.
Mouthful mode. I'm sorry, I'm jumping in. You say why you are excited.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for it because this is the last 2D powerhouse that's moved to 3D. Kirby hasn't done it yet. It's kind of weird that everyone else did it 20 years ago and Kirby's finally doing it, but it looks fantastic. And Mario's first 3D was great. Metroid's first 3D was great. I'm sure Kirby has been paying attention for the past 20 fucking years. And so I was already super excited for it. But then Mouthful Mode is like Mario Odyssey, but even more ridiculous, and horny. It makes me super happy. and
well, also, like, other than Mouthful Mode, which, as people have said, yes, is the mechanic from Mario Odyssey, other than that, top to bottom, it is Kirby 3D World.
Yeah.
Like, level design wise, I'm like, they're doing a Mario 3D World with this game, 100%. With the whole like vision that you can see in every single clip of it, except that they're adding in Mouthful Mode.
I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land looks like a Game of the Year contender. I think it looks
gonna be great.
Absolutely phenomenal. I 100% believe it's going to be Kirby's Breath of the Wild Mario Odyssey moment.
So that was my honorable mention, but I want to give a dishonorable mention to Triangle Strategy. On one hand, it kind of looks beautiful, and it's cool that it's a tactics RPG. It does look a lot better than Octopath, I will say. But look as in visually, and I won't go into why. I'm just gonna say I got some positive things to say about it. I got some negative things to say about it. But there's only one important thing, which is that holy shit, I have never seen a mainstream, generally traditional designed video game, aka not some kind of weird artsy thing, with so many cutscenes between actual gameplay. The amount of time that goes following the Fire Emblem model, you get like one battle per chapter, and the demo is 3 chapters. The amount of time that goes between the first and second battles, baby, how many hours of gameplay do you think there were between the first and second battles of Triangle Strategy?
I feel like there was like an hour of dialogue before the first battle, and then like I felt like I played the game for 5 hours before I got to the second.
Yeah, he's exaggerating, but it's fucking insane. So yeah, that's look, I love cutscenes, but it's ridiculous. And it's not like it's one cutscene that goes on for a long time. It's like you're watching a cutscene and you're like, cool, a cutscene. And then it's like it boots you to the world map and makes you pick the next place to go. And then at that place, all that happens is you watch cutscenes. And then you're back to the world map to pick something else, to pick more cutscenes to watch. Except occasionally walk around. Hold on, what, baby?
Well, and also, in those first few chapters, the next place is almost always the place you already were. So you just get booted out and click the same castle.
Exactly. So, yeah, just, man, I get they're probably setting up a lot of stuff. I bet there's probably less time between battles after the second chapter, because boy, did they set up an insane amount of complex plot character conflicts, but, like, there's a point where it's too much even for, like, me.
They should just do what old Fire Emblem games do, and after like 10 minutes of lore building, brigands show up and you fight them.
That's the thing. There are so many situations where it's like, dude, I get that the actual plot hasn't advanced yet, but you literally could have just been, and then the hero had to go and fight some brigands who took over a nearby grain silo. Like, just throw that in there. That way I can have a battle and level up my dudes. Like, I literally would not care if you did that.
Yeah, like every old Fire Emblem game, just the characters are getting to know each other, we're setting things up, then some ruffians show up who don't have anything to do with the plot, and you fight them, and it's great.
It's fine. I would probably say to myself, lol, this is totally a filler battle that has no reason to exist. But, like, it's still the correct decision.
Yes.
Anyway, dishonorable mention.
My dishonorable mention for Triangle Strategy is, I feel the only thing I know about the game is that it's Square doing the Final Fantasy Tactics by way of, like, they're doing Final Fantasy Tactics the same way that Bravely Default did Final Fantasy V, and they're doing that in HD 2D, and that's all that I know about it, because that's all that the marketing is. I know nothing to make me actually want to buy this game instead of just playing War of the Lions on my Vita. And a lot of people are super hype about it, but I know literally nothing about it, and I really wish they wouldn't have done like they did with Octopath Traveler and just name it the working title, because Triangle Strategy is a way worse working title than Octopath Traveler was. Yeah,
Octopath Traveler is actually an okay title, but actually sticking with Triangle Strategy is really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently one of the developers of Triangle Strategy is called ArtThink, which is quite a name.
But
I have an actual honorable mention for Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, because Fire Emblem 3 Houses is an absolute mess of a game, but the characters are so wonderful to hang out with, and I'm excited to hang out with them again. And also, from the glimpses of the trailer, it looks like it's going to be more like Hyrule Warriors 1, which I like, instead of Hyrule Warriors
Age of Calamity.
Yeah, that. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, which I didn't like, because, like, you didn't actually do Muso stuff. You just, like, did Muso stuff while a bunch of people talked. Whereas the difference is that, like, with Persona 5 Strikers, you're not doing Muso stuff at all. You're just doing a really good action RPG where there's lots of enemies.
Man, all of these kids these days, everyone's talking about Fire Emblem 3 Hopes. I think y'all need to go out and get Fire Emblem 3 Hopes.
That's ambitious.
I'm excited for Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, even though I have not played 3 Houses yet at all, nor any Muso game. But it is the next in the line of the licensed Muso games that do it as a spin-off and an expansion of a thing that exists, instead of just being like a gacha game without the gacha. Like, Hyrule Warriors 1 and Fire Emblem Warriors 1 both were just like, here's all your friends together and we'll just try and make it make sense while we do it. But since then, all of them have been like building on Persona, building on Breath of the Wild, building on Three Houses, and I really like that. For like, I'm more likely to play those three than I am Warriors Orochi 7 or any of the Gundam ones or the Hyrule Warriors or Fire Emblem Warriors 1.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm really happy about with Three Hopes is I like that it's focused on one Fire Emblem game. Like you said, it's an expansion of one Fire Emblem game, an amazing one. The original Fire Emblem Warriors was like, this is a celebration of Fire Emblem. But like not 95, like 90% of the characters came from the same three games of this like 15 game series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like if you're just trying to cash in on the new game everyone likes anyway, just make it a sequel to that game.
Yeah.
But like literally almost all the characters just came from Fate's Awakening and the first game. And like Ike wasn't in the game, even though he's in Smash Brothers. Yeah, Don't get me started on that game.
Honorable mention that I think is really neat and really cool. I probably won't actually play it, but there's a chance that I might. Is Wii Sports 3, aka Nintendo Switch Sports.
Yeah,
like it's crazy that. It's crazy that they skipped the whole Wii U for the Nintendo Sports series, but the new avatars look better than Mii's, and I'm glad that Mii's are dead, and Miitopia is the last Mii game, and I'm okay with that because Mii's are weird, but I like the ones in Nintendo Switch Sports, and it looks like they like modernized but didn't try to fix what wasn't broken. It looks like it's Wii Sports 2, even though the Wii Sports Resort already exists.
Yeah. I found it funny that it got the most screen time out of any announcement. And I also found it funny that Koizumi was there in like a jersey instead of a suit. He doesn't look right not in a suit. And I think he would look more right if he were in a suit that had like a huge collar and a cape.
Yes.
Any other honorable mentions?
You know I'm excited for Kingdom Hearts Cloud Edition.
No, you're not.
I can't believe they made a whole Kingdom Hearts game just for Cloud.
Yes. Yeah,
I heard it sucks complete ass, like in a way that's horrendous.
If you haven't watched the Digital Foundry video about them, you should, because holy crap, these are not $90 worth of video game.
Two quick honorable mentions: Front Mission 1 remake and Front Mission 2 remake, and Klonoa collection.
Oh yeah.
I love Klonoa. I still haven't played the second game.
Me and Klonoa have a very weird relationship where I saw magazine ads about Klonoa and I fell in love with his character design. I thought it was great. And then the year of our Lord 2021, I played a Klonoa game for the first time and I fucking hated it. I did not have fun any bit at all. It was absolutely horrible, but I'm really excited because potentially a Klonoa 3 would be really good. But
which Klonoa game did you play?
Klonoa 1.
For the PlayStation?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I played and I loved it.
I could not like it at all. So hope I'm real happy for everyone that's real happy, and I'm glad I get to see HD versions of this kick-ass looking Sonic character. But yeah, I'm probably not going to play it. Yeah, I just as a vague like shout out to this whole Nintendo Direct, there were a lot of like remakes for the first time of like Live Alive, Radical Dreamers, And then you had remakes of Front Mission 1 and 2, which I think came out back in the day, but still, there's a lot of like... There's a lot of...
I think these are new remakes, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there were a whole lot of, like... There were a whole lot of things for people like me, and I made a joke. Apparently, they talked about Zombie Army Dead War 4, which I don't remember being in the direct at all. But normally, there's some game like that where it's like, oh, we're going to spend 5 minutes talking about Rogue Company or some shooty pew pew game because we want people to shooty pew pew on the Switch, and it just, I don't care. But literally, every single game they talked about like was for me, and I thought that was real cool.
One thing that I found, one moment that was really funny for me was they were like, a free update is coming to the Metroid Dread game, and I was like, oh man, I rented Metroid Dread. Am I gonna have to get it again so that I can play this free update? It's one-hit kill mode, and I'm like,
insanely goddamn hard sicko mode. And it's like, nah, I'm
good.
I'm good, dog.
And they're also adding an easy mode, which, you know, is cool because that game is extremely freaking hard already.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, one-hit kill mode.
Add a mode that makes it harder for longer than the first, like, 2 hours.
There is a hard mode that's not one-hit kill mode, but you have to beat the game to unlock it, I think.
Oh, really? That sounds fun, actually. Fuck.
Yeah, when I beat the game, it said, you've unlocked hard mode, and I'm like, I spent like an entire day on that final boss. Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not,
that's true. The bosses were all way OP. I mean, compared to the rest of the game.
Yeah.
They need to make a DLC that makes the rest of the game hard and not just the bosses.
Speaking of hard bosses, let's listen to some Final Fantasy XIII-2 music and then talk about Final Fantasy XIII-2.
Yeah.
Do you remember that the wind on you? Swifter than whispers of angel that falls in love.
Bernard, what happens in episode 3 of this video game?
Well, we're in the Historia Crux, or whatever it's called, and we highlight the Yashas Massif, 10AF, and the hot voice tells us that the Academy is driving human progress and has taken a leading role in state affairs. It's working to solve the paradoxes that warp the surrounding space-time. The Yashas Massif is at the heart of these distortions. Noel and Sarah hop out of a time gate, and it's dark. But this isn't your average everyday darkness. This is advanced darkness.
That's right.
Noel says this must be the eclipse. In his time, people said that 500 years ago, a massive fal'Cie appeared and blotted out the sun. Sarah does math and says this must be 200 years in her future. But the UI said it was just 10 AF. I guess this means they can't see the UI. Only we can.
Which is good, because then I'd have even more questions.
Yes. I wasn't waiting for someone to jump in with a quip. I was just breathing.
Oh, I know.
Excuse me. Noel says the eclipse is only affecting this small area, and they hypothesize that this is a paradox. Noel walks up to an extremely NPC and asks where they are and what year it is. The NPC is like, it's 10 AF. Are you time travelers? They explain the situation, and he just gives them a free map. The NPC confirms that the fal'Cie Fenrir has blocked out the sun, despite their predictions saying he would arrive in 200 years. Noel and Sarah head to the nearby ruins. They're denied entry, but a paradox monster appeared. It is hard, but we beat it. And I beat it on my first try, even though it was extremely hard, and I'm wondering if he can actually not win this battle, because it sort of felt like It was hard.
I don't remember that being hard at all.
Yeah, I literally don't even remember it. The final boss of this chapter is the gobsmack hard, but I don't remember this one at
The
all.
final boss of this chapter is extremely hard. But I don't know. I found it extremely hard. And then after the fight, it's like dragging you in, like you haven't definitively won. So I was like, maybe you don't have to win this fight. But apparently it's bullshit easy, and I'm just bad at video games.
No, it just didn't click with you.
I'm also on easy mode, so if you're not on easy mode, then
Oh no, I'm on big boy
normal
mode.
I'm also on big boy mode.
yeah.
But it's dragging us in. I wonder if you're allowed to lose this fight. I say in my notes and read aloud, even though I've already expressed that. An electric boomerang whacks the monster and it disappears. The boomerang returns to, oh my god, it's grown up Hope. He explains
and he's
that
hot. He is. He looks good. My man's dressing. He's got
Glow
a
up.
great fit. He's got good hair. He's glowed the heck up, honestly. Other characters in this game, all the characters in this game get older, but most of them were already adults to begin with. So it's like, yeah, you look different now, but you're just a different kind of adult. But he growed up. It's dope.
Mm-hmm. We actually haven't seen too many characters from the previous game after time progressed.
Yeah, well, we're going to see spoiler next week because remember I accidentally played a little bit of the other path?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see someone next week.
Yeah, I won't say who because I don't want to surprise. I don't want you to get spoiled because it's fun to see who you're going to see.
Yes. So Hope explains that a shock usually shuts down these paradox monsters. And Sarah's like, holy shit, are you grown up Hope? He introduces himself to Noel as Director of Academy Research, Team Alpha. Apparently he's smart. That was never like really a thing in the previous game, but I guess he had to have something going for him.
One of the data logs in the thing talked about how he was good at school or something like that, because as you remember, the first game was told through the data log.
That's true. Hope knows about Noel and Sarah's activities in the Brescia ruins. The Academy had analyzed the gates and forecasted their appearance here. Hope wastes no time in getting mopey. He's sad because everyone he knew 10 years ago disappeared from his life. Then Alyssa shows up. You remember her? She was really cute.
She's still really cute.
She continues.
She's clearly crushing on Hope, and Hope's clearly not interested.
It's so cute, and I don't even want to say she can do better because Hope's really cool in this game. Actually, I just wish that he would. I wish that he would reciprocate because they're really cute together.
I don't know if he's not interested or if he's just doesn't know what's going on.
I actually didn't pick up not interested. I picked up obviously they're not like dating or anything, but I saw him as being very friendly in return. Like they've had this thing going for a while, and who knows, maybe they even like each other a lot, but it's just not really coming up.
Who knows?
That's how I read it, but it's just body language and voice acting and stuff.
The way I read it was like she's like, "Hey, Hope," and he's like, "Hello, coworker." Anyway, as they head into the ruins, they discuss their erstwhile friends. And I get excited about the opportunity to use the word erstwhile. Hope hasn't heard anything from Snow these past 10 years. Noel figures Snow must be time traveling too, and I'm like, are you sure he didn't just get owned by a behemoth or something?
You're just falling off a fucking cliff, dog.
It would not be out of character. Saz
He
and
tried
Dodge.
to punch the cliff.
It didn't work. Saz and Dodge went to live on Grand Pulse, but later disappeared. Hope says he and Saz both had doubts about lightning being in the crystal pillar. When they get to the ruins, Hope identifies them as the city of Padra, built by a nation known as the Farseers. You remember the Farseers? They were totally mentioned in the last game.
I will say, the Farseers were not, but Padra was. We could go to the Padra ruins on Grand Pulse. There was no lore associated with them. At no point did the game explain what any of this is, but there was a certain area in Grand Pulse that maybe you don't ever even have to go there unless you're doing side quests. But yeah, it's just some old ruins, and the map says it's called Padra Ruins, and I think it's got a data log entry. So the fact that Padra Ruins serves zero purpose at all in the original game, but yet is there, almost is like, damn, are they doing some foreshadowing? Except we know they weren't, because they weren't planning on making another one of these things. So kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it is cool that they used something that already existed for this part where they introduced something that did not already exist, the Farseers.
Yeah, this whole ancient race and shit, which is totally new lore.
Yeah. Noel is surprised there were enough Farseers to build this whole town. Hope says their research indicates they were an entire nation ruled by a seeress. This all seems significant to Noel. He mutters the name, Yule. Hope says that rule was handed down from one seeress to the next, always called Yule. Sarah's like, if these people could see the future, how'd they get owned? Hope says Yule foresaw the destruction of the city and a civil war erupted over whether to try to save the city or to abandon it. Alyssa says seeing the future can mess with people's heads. Noel seems to have known the story already. Hope and Alyssa
if you're like me, you don't remember that Yule was the chick that what's his face dipped to dissolve in the ocean in the opening cutscene.
If you're like me, you think it's extremely funny that these characters are so incredulous at the idea that if a civilization was very, very clearly aware of an impending apocalypse, they wouldn't somehow be able to fix it before it happened. They're like, that doesn't make any sense. If I saw a disaster on the horizon, I would simply stop it from happening. And I'm like, oh, honey. Oh, sweetie.
But we're not here to get sad about reality. We're here to get sad about made-up characters.
That's right. Yeah. Let's go.
Hope and Alyssa show Noel and Sarah the Oracle Drive, which is some kind of recording device from ancient times. Noel totally knows what it is. The Academy has excavated a number of them, but they depict things that should not be possible. This one shows Ragnarok and the creation of the Crystal Pillar. We see lightning, but carbon dating shows the device and recording are several centuries old. It was a vision of the future, perhaps from Yule herself. Hope shows them another recording, though it's distorted. It shows Lightning and Caius fighting in Valhalla. They figure it can resolve the paradox. They figure if they can resolve the paradox, the Oracle Drive's prophecy will become clearer, and they can find out where Lightning is. Hope gives Noel and Sarah an artifact, saying the Academy couldn't get it to work. They head off to find the gate. They find it. Before they head off, Sarah asks Noel why he's been acting weird. Noel says, it's personal, but Sarah asks if it's about the Seeress. I actually think she can ask about several things, but I asked about the Seeress.
I want to mention here, one of the things, she can say a couple different things here, one of which, as we've learned from last week, I think due to Sam explaining it to us, is stupid. And I have started picking the stupid answer every single time, and it's actually not just funny. It's actually really well written and interesting, and I'll explain later during our Mem Moms.
All right. Noel is like, yeah, it's about the Seeress. He also says that Lightning said that from Valhalla you can see all of time. Sarah's like, then Lightning knows what's going to happen to us. They go through the gate to Erba 200 AF. The hot voice tells us that the Academy has restricted access to this place because it is Fang and Vanille's homeland. I almost accidentally pronounced Fang as Fong, because Maddie Grace kept pronouncing it like that, even though the characters in the game pronounce it Fang.
Cool.
Sorry to call you out. Now,
no, 200... no, now everyone listening is going to think I'm stupid.
Now, 200 years later, it has been swallowed into a rift between time and space. Noel and Sarah emerge into a crazy place. Mog says space-time has doubled and twisted on itself. The future and past are tangled into one Kupo. Noel mentions an old fairy tale that says those left behind when the fallacy abandoned the world desired nothingness. Noel and Sarah get sucked into the void beyond and do a puzzle. This one is extremely simple, but it's also weird and confused me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's less fun for sure. It's just connecting the dots to make a pattern, but also you can only connect them in the same color, so it's just kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's like really easy, but I never totally understood what was happening.
Yeah, every time you're like, okay, I need to connect these two, they would be like out of phase with each other, and you couldn't actually link them together because one would be red and one would be blue, and then they would swap being red and blue, and it's like, well, I only can connect them when they're the same color.
So to explain in more detail, basically, it starts off by showing you a bunch of little crystals, and then it shows you what the image is supposed to look like. Think like connecting constellations, like stars. And then it finishes the cutscene, and then these crystals all change colors on a timer. Like every couple seconds, they all change their colors. And yeah, so all you gotta do is you hit like A on one of the crystals, and then like run to the next one and hit A. And if you hit A on both times, it'll connect them with a line. But you can only connect them in the same color. And as Sam was saying, that's an issue. For me, instead of looking at like starting at the starting point, for me it was like you gaze out upon the entire field and see which two are the same color, and then you run and you connect those two, right? But the game would do this thing, and this is actually good. The game would do this thing, it seems to me, where after you made a successful connection of some two, it would automatically make the one that's coming up after what you just did the same color. So, like, it would, like, kind of... The game would sort of cheat for you and make you get lucky so that you could keep connecting them. But I thought that by the time you got to, like, the third floor or whatever, it was actually kind of hard to remember the pattern because there were some pretty relatively tricky ones. So, it's just really weird how it's two different kinds of brain at once. One of them is timing and motion, and the other one is remembering a shape. So, like, having to do both those things at once was just very weird.
Yeah,
and also this game shouldn't have puzzles in it.
Like, I'm spending a pretty decent bit of brain work trying to figure out the timing and the colors, so I'm not going to have enough brain juice to also remember the pattern, right?
Yeah, especially because the first puzzles was just the Pokemon Gold Ice Gym, to then
which is always a classic, always fun.
Yeah, but it's a classic, and it's just walk in circles and don't go down dead ends, and you'll be fine.
It wasn't Ice Gym. It was you can only go on each space once.
Yeah, one of the ice gyms in one of the Pokemon games, I thought it was Gold, Silver, Crystal, has that where you have to walk once on each of the things.
Ice? Because the point of ice is that you can't move. You have to go.
I forget which one it is, but I believe it is the ice gym where you step on it and it cracks.
Yeah.
And so each tile, the ice cracks, and so you can't step on a tile again.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Which is funny because there's no reason not to be ice because it's not slippery. Huh. Okay.
Yeah. But like that's a classic, but it's super simple. And then the second time they're like, no, you have to remember these 14 things, and then it's so the way they cheat for you is not that the next one will already be right. It's just more likely to be right, because if you connect one that flashes red and blue and you connect to it while it's blue, it then stays red. It doesn't ever flash back to blue. So it makes it easier for the next one to be lined up right, but it doesn't actually cheat all the way for you. But it's still not easy and way more complicated. And I hope that it's a fluke and it doesn't just exponentially get harder as it goes on.
I wish that they would just, instead of puzzles, it'd just be mini bosses. But that's not the case. We solving the puzzle restores part of Erba. So we go around and do more puzzles until the whole place is back to normal. And it's cool because, like, it still looks like Erba, but it's even more post-apocalyptic now. Sarah and Noel find an Oracle drive. Sarah activates it right as a voice tells her to stop. The drive plays a freaky vision where we see the original and revised endings of Final Fantasy XIII sort of flashing between each other. We also see flashes of lightning, Caius, and I think the crystal pillar shattering?
Yeah.
Sarah says the prophecy has changed. The vision area shows Caius. What?
The Visigoth.
Yes.
But you accidentally almost said for a second there.
It shows Caius. He says if you change the future, you change the past. Change is the constant. He steps out of the vision and into the real world.
Oh, shit.
He steps out of your TV. A woman, the person who told Sarah to stop, steps forward. She says she has seen them both. Noel grabs her and is like, Yule! She says she's not the Yule he knows. She goes over and stands beside Caius. Sarah asks Caius what he's doing here. He says he noticed their journey across the timeline. Yule has been watching them. Caius says he must protect the sanctity of the timeline and attacks. And wow! This is a hard fight, and I lost it. And so I lost the fight, and my brain immediately goes, okay, this guy's clearly the final boss, so clearly this is a forced loss fight, so this is fine. Oh no, it says game over.
Yeah. It was even hard on easy. And the thing that sucks the most is it was hard, but I was in the Final Fantasy XIII version of the JRPG spiral where you're in your healing mode, but also using potions. So you're kind of just barely surviving, and then you can maybe get out of your paradigm for like half a second and do that. And so it was like taking forever. And then he was like about to die, and I did the great thing that has been a thing since Dragon Quest I, and it's like, I need to heal, but he's also almost dead. Do I use the spell to hurt or to help myself? And I chose poorly. I had my tank robot had his special move up, so I did that instead of paradigm shifting to my healer, and it did not kill him all the way, and he did his fuck you, blow you up in a line, and I game overed and had to do that bullshit over and over again.
What's tough on him is he starts off by casting like re-raise on himself, so you got to get his health down twice, but also he has regen, so if you don't keep on him, he fucking regens himself. For me, I tried 2 or 3 times, and after learning a lot and rejiggering my paradigm, so not being able to win, I don't remember if it was now or later that I looked online for some tips, but whatever. I went into some leveling up. Cool thing about this game, grinding is hella fast. Like, really not much time at all. I probably ran around doing battles for like a half hour, and it doesn't even really feel like grinding because the game systems are so interesting. You're constantly having to make like choices, so you're constantly having to think, which of my skills do I use for this particular node, right, while trying to snag those good bonuses. If you advance one of the levels of your Spheratorium, you're like, okay, fuck, which of those, really hard to decide which one I want. Bonuses do I want? And then when you go to Chocolina, you're like, okay, well now I gotta think pretty hard about like, which of my Pokemon do I want to level up, and how? What stats do I want to pump for these Pokemon, right? So it's really, really fun and not onerous at all. Anyway, I did a bit of that.
At our current level, it's like 350-ish Crystarium points to level up, and like every battle you get like 400 or 500. So it's like you level up very quickly where we currently are.
And the battles aren't too hard, but they added a new feature in this game. Thank God. They didn't have this in the previous game. If you get 5 stars in a battle now, it raises your chances of getting good loot.
Which dope.
Means now, for once, there's actually an incentive to get 5 stars. So that's another thing. All the battles, at this point, if you've gotten to Caius, the battles are all pretty easy. You're not really in danger of losing them. But now there's actually an incentive to try and not just win, but like really win. Mm-hmm. So I'm tweaking my paradigms and tweaking my strats the whole time just to beat the same mob, but a little better this time. Because last time I got 4 stars and I want to get 5 because it raises your percentage chance of getting a loot, and that's kind of my leveling up. So it's just like all the systems work together real well. Anyway, I leveled up. I started using status effects a lot more. I think I leveled up a poke that I hadn't put any levels into yet. That was like a saboteur or something. And I also looked a bit on the internet to look at some system stuff to see who's good at doing what. Turns out the beef with Caius is that his buffs are really good, especially regen. You got to get rid of them. You've got to debuff him. Mm-hmm. Buffing yourself is also important. But debuffing him is really the main thing. And poisoning him. That's the thing. So removing his regen, removing his things that make him stronger, and especially poisoning him. If you can do that, combined with being higher level and stuff, I think I beat him on my first try after I leveled up, but it still wasn't easy.
Yeah, I beat him on my second try. I forget if I don't think I did any grinding in between my first and second tries. I think I just tried harder and was able to just barely get through it.
You know, I gotta say, the fact that the game starts you with your 2 classes for both of your characters just being Ravager, Commando, and Sentinel is so cool, because you know what class I never fucking used in the first game? Sentinel. I did not use it. I
only used it for the Healy awesome one. So I'd put Fong and Sentinel and have 2 medics.
Right.
And that's all
I ended up using Sentinel a lot last game, eventually.
Apparently it's a major part of the game's mechanics, but like I never really used it. I never really figured out what the deal with it was. I never really got good at it. Also, I never really found a reason to use it, because for me, if I had to go heal mode, usually just like heal, or heal, commando was always like fine. I just had to like get good. But in this game, the main thing is just that it's just the class bonus. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, one of your guys is tanking, but more importantly, if any of your guys is currently a sentinel, everyone just takes less damage.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. Also, I will say in this game, remember they got rid of the super long fucking little cutscenes when you switch your jobs. Mm-hmm. So now it's like instantaneous. So the second you see enemies about to use a strong move, bop, sentinel.
Yeah, the first game, the super long cutscene would only happen the first time you switch paradigms in a battle. So sometimes I would switch paradigms early just to get it out of the way.
But even after that, it's still faster in this game, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, significantly.
So after the fight, Knowles tells Caius he's not going to fight him, even though that's what he's been doing. Caius says that he's not the Caius you once knew. Caius says to change history is a sin. Yule says it's too late. The timeline has already changed. Caius and Yule just sort of leave. But they leave an artifact behind. Noel says Yule had the same face and voice, but didn't know him at all. They step through the gate. Sarah wonders what was meant by if you change the future, you change the past. Did they change the past?
Find out next time on... Just kidding. You're going to find out in about 10 seconds.
Yes. An alternate 10AF is unlocked called XIII-AF. The UI explains that when there's an alternate... time.
Did you skip over the weird thing for brevity, or did the weird thing not happen to you?
What weird thing?
That's after we leave this area, Sam. You mean like void mode?
Yeah.
Void mode is
Void mode is later.
I thought it was when.
I'm the one with the notes, and I say it's later.
It's definitely later.
Okay.
You're just getting your brain mixed up. Unless you activated some weird alternate version of the game, which, given the way this game is, maybe you did.
Maybe you sequence braked.
I mean,
it's a weird game. It's got a lot of really strange structural things in it, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, I have no idea.
The UI explains that when there's an alternate time, the 0 in the ones place is replaced with an X, which sounds like a really weird way to do it. Why not just call it like alternate 10AF? Or
yeah, like what if you had two different times? One of them was like 12 and one of them was like 15. If then you replace it where it's 1X, you wouldn't know which one it was.
Apparently, we always go to years that are multiples of 10.
Well, or these years that you never have two different years that are the same, that have the same tens place, except for, I guess, 03 and 05, but that doesn't count.
Yeah. It's a weird way to do it. The hot voice assures... Wait. The hot voice assures us this is not like the world of 10AF that Noel and Sarah visited previously. Things have changed. I'm sorry about that. Usually I proofread my notes. I didn't this time. And I got confused.
Imagine proofreading your notes. Could not be me.
Yes. I put too much effort into this. They arrive in the Yashas Massif and find there's no eclipse. As they approach the ruins, Yule appears out of fucking nowhere. She says the Yule they met was a different Yule, one from the future. She says she's been watching them. She can trace the timeline and leads others along the correct path. Her eyes glow for a second, and she says she and Sarah are the same. Sarah, too, can show others the way. Yule wanders off. Noel hypothesizes that Sarah's job is to show us the true timeline. They find that the Academy is still there studying the ruins, though they don't know about the paradox. Sarah has her 10-year reunion with Hope again, and explains that his memories have changed. Hope shows them a prophecy from the Oracle Drive, which clearly shows lightning in Valhalla. Hope confirms lightning is alive somewhere in the future. Hope explains his research revealed the possibility of changing the past. He wanted to bring not just lightning back, but Vanille and Fang too, and his mother. Hope says it's clear they're not the only ones intervening in history. Someone must have changed the past, where lightning survived the fall of Cocoon.
I love how Hope is stupid right here. And he's like, hey, we should go back and save Lightning because here's all this evidence that Lightning should have survived and instead she didn't. And let's also save our friends who do not currently have a future, but it wouldn't be necessarily changing anything to save them because like they are stuck in crystal. We free them from the crystal whenever that happens. That's totally fine. But also, let's go save my mom and mess up all of the history that happened in the first game of me. That's how he gets his Eidolon is because he's confronting Snow about his mom, and like it's a very important inciting incident to Hope's story. And it's like, let's go change that. I'm sure whatever fucks up the future from there will be totally fine.
Well, all they gotta do is
I'm wondering...
do it Chrono Trigger style, or even better, I guess it's also kind of like Avengers in-game style, where like you save your mom, but you replace her with like a little dummy. So then when she gets fucking incinerated, Hope still thinks his mom died, but then you yoink her into 10 years in the future, and you're like, Mom, you're back. You didn't die. I just thought that you died, and I was very traumatized. And it was this whole thing, but now you're back.
So, yeah, Hope is like, we got to save Lightning because clearly someone's been fucking up with the timeline, and so we've got to fix the timeline. But the other stuff, it's like, are you just going to go and fix every bad thing that's ever happened?
I kind of liked it. I mean, a lot of bad things have happened to this boy. And
I mean, I
here's the
don't
thing.
blame him for wanting his mom back.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one thing I actually liked it, because my first thought was, wait, you already went through this arc. But no, he didn't. Like, look, yeah, you suffer great loss, and then you learn and grow, and you learn to basically get over it, your trauma and your grief. But if then all of a sudden someone's like, by the way, time travel's real, a lot of those feelings are probably going to come back.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And I mean, you
like, it actually makes perfect sense that he's like, I now am really obsessed with bringing my mom back. I wasn't before, but I also didn't know that time travel was real before.
yeah, and like you grow and learn to live with things, but like they don't go away.
Yeah.
We learn to live with things because we can't change the past.
Yeah, I think that he's being
dear boy,
very
you can't
stupid. But I
change the
love that he's being
past.
very stupid.
Yeah,
You can't
I
repeat
thought
the
it was a really
past.
smart direction for him. Of course you can't. Shut the fuck up.
I always forget that it's you can't repeat the past instead of you can't change the past.
Yeah,
And usually when I reference it, it stops making sense when I remember that it's you can't repeat the past.
that's me too.
Anyway, but of course you can, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Exactly.
Where the fuck was I? And his mother. Hope says it's clear they're not the only ones intervening in history. Someone must have changed the past where Lightning survived the fall of Cocoon. The Oracle Drive activates again and shows flashes of Caius and the crystal pillars shattering and Cocoon falling. The gang wonders what this change in the prophecy means. Noel says that Cocoon fell before he was born and the world fell apart after that. Sarah asks if Caius could have done it. Noel says Caius couldn't do that, but Alyssa interrupts with some nonsense before he can elaborate. Sarah is filled with determination. She says they'll stop Cocoon from falling and save the future. Hope says that while they do the time travel stuff, he'll work to prevent or at least prepare for the fall in the present. Let's work together to change the future. Sarah remembers Caius and Yule saying that if you change the future, you change the past. Noel and Sarah find an artifact and a gate and head off on their next adventure. We see Caius and Yule watching them. Yule collapses. Caius catches her. She falls unconscious and or dead. Caius asks how many times he must see this. Noel and Sarah now find themselves in a locked location with an unknown year. There's nowhere to go, so they figure they'll go back to the Astoria Crux. They then find themselves in the void beyond, in a place that looks like Valhalla, apparently. I didn't recognize it, but they do. Sarah is drained of determination and needs a break. Noel says that his people had a legend of a goddess. Never give up, for the goddess Etro watches always and helps those who help themselves. Sarah says that's not a legend, that's just a saying, you idiot.
She's like, yeah, and even more than that, she's like, that's just a saying. Also, it's kind of stupid.
Noel is like, you're not wrong, but let's be inspired by it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the week.
That'd be like if it's like, yeah, man, in my culture, you know, this might be a little new for you, but like in my culture, we've got this really important phrase. It's always believe in yourself.
Yeah, I did look it up, and it doesn't happen earlier. I just misremembered it and put it in the wrong spot.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm dumb. I'm also segueing into our memorable moments. So let's listen to some music and then talk about our Mint Moms. buddy. Talk about your min-moms.
I'm gonna lead off with one. The joke answers in this game are fucking fantastic. For a couple reasons. I was mistaken. So I was like, I noticed early in the game, a lot of the choices, I was like, why would I want to pick that? That's just stupid. And I don't want to think that the character I'm playing as is like just a complete fucking idiot, right? But that's really not it. I've been picking him every single time, and I'm going to keep picking him every single time because sometimes she is stupid. Yes, sometimes Sarah is stupid. But a lot of the time, actually, I'll just show you. On the part where you're about to go through the gate and the live trigger literally says, Noel seems troubled about something. He says it's personal. How should I respond? Your options are, don't ask. Is it about the Cirrus? Is it about the Oracle Drive? Oh, and by the way, it's about the Cirrus. And the fourth option is bothered by the Moogle. And if you pick that, well, to go back, actually, Sarah says, there's something on your mind. He turns away and says, it's just personal stuff. Then Sarah goes, it's the Moogle. And Mog goes, Kupo? And Sarah's like, he really bothers you, huh? And then Noel looks at her and goes, is it that obvious? And then the two of them start ripping on the Moogle and how stupid he is. And it's very clear that Sarah wasn't stupid. She was intentionally changing the subject because she's being a friend. Like, she could tell.
Wonderful.
She could tell Noel didn't want to talk about it, so she acted like it was the Moogle. And then Noel catches that that's what she's doing. And then they're riffing. It's really fucking good. And at the end, they're both like laughing. And then they go through the fucking gate. And now he's feeling better, even though she didn't talk because she was respecting that he didn't want to talk about it. It's really, really good. That's good fucking writing. And that's fantastic. That's not the only time that happens. There's another time that I might find in a second. There's a couple, but there's at least one more I would love to share where she says something dumb. She says something dumb, and Hope is like, no, you fucking idiot, that are you kidding me? And then after he says it, she's like, no, I'm clearly joking. And in that scene, the joke is on Hope for not realizing that she was clearly joking. It's really, really, I'm so shocked at how good this shit is. Y'all should definitely try it out sometime. I think there was at least one example of her dead ass just being dumb. But even that one, like, it wasn't ridiculous. It was like, yeah, sometimes people are dumb sometimes. Like, that's normal. Lord knows I am. Yeah, so that, it's a degree of subtlety that I wasn't just not expecting from this game, but don't expect from most games, honestly, especially games where it's like an optional thing the player can choose to do.
Yeah. And then you get a little hat for your Pokemon.
and you get extra little hats for your Pokemon every time you pick the funny answers.
So, yeah, definitely doing that from now on.
I love that.
Y'all can do some now.
So I don't have any particulars, but I do continue to enjoy the fact that apparently Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a remake of this game, because you do so many of the exact same sort of things with your anomaly solving and dimension hopping stuff, and it, having just played that game last weekend and now I'm playing this one, is just wild that they are so much the same game.
I'm kind of surprised this game isn't an action platformer with how weird and wild it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they might as well have made it one.
It might as well have.
I mean, you can jump, and you do have an attack button.
Yeah, honestly, like, and it's not that I don't like the battle system; it's good. But I feel like if the point of departure for this game had not been we're using the same engine and battle system, you would not have picked this engine and battle system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it didn't clearly have to be that way due to being a sequel to FF13 made in like a fucking year, if it was made from the ground up, I wouldn't have given it this battle.
And
I believe Lightning Returns is a different battle system.
It is very, very different, which I think goes further to go along with to validate what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think this one in particular was they used this battle system to iron out the kinks of the first one and like make it better. I'm enjoying it for all the same reasons that I stumbled upon liking it in Final Fantasy 13, but like faster and easier, and I'm making those decisions much more quicker. And so I feel they because none of the other sequels at all use the same battle system except for Final Fantasy IV sequel, but that game sucks, so it doesn't count. But all of the other sequels have been Final Fantasy IV: The After Years.
Oh yeah.
But all the other ones have been like third-person shooters, or we use the Kingdom Hearts battle system instead for Crisis Core. And XIII-2 has, you know how we got rid of active time battling? Well, now we're going to extra active, extra time, extra battle for XIII-2. And this one is the only one that's like, it's the same thing. It's just refined in the way that the original was. Yeah. And I feel that was on purpose, because they're like... People kind of gave us flack, and we wanted to show you what we were trying to do the first time around.
One thing I found out through reading on Wikipedia is that both this game and the next game, pretty much everything interesting that they do that's fresh and original and isn't in the previous games is an idea they had for the first game that didn't make that got cut. Like...
That's the impression I'd gotten.
Very clearly was a game where they had a gazillion ideas. They wanted to somehow like radically reinvent JRPGs, but didn't really have a clear idea of how. And they just had such an overabundance of concepts that once the first game was done, it was like, all right, take a lot of the art, design concepts, plot ideas, all that detritus that got shed from the first game. You've got another chance. You've got a fucking year. Go for it. And that's what gives them the games this wild energy. Like, it doesn't feel like they're just trying to make shit up because the boss said they had to make a sequel, right? It's like, no, this is another expression of the passion that very clearly has gone into this entire project, but combined with extreme time crunch actually makes it have this manic energy to it.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah was supposed to be a party member in the first game, but then eventually things shook out to where she's a goddamn crystal most of the game. But now she gets to be the main character. I forget what mechanics in this game were detritus from the previous game, though it is quite a few. I did read about it, and the third game is even more so like that. But yeah, it's just like, let's take all these ideas that, again, we're very passionate about, throw them in a blender, and or like try to make a collage as quickly as possible before the teacher comes back. Yeah, I think one of my memorable moments, maybe my only one, is going to be one refinement to the battle system that I think is incredibly important, even though it's very simple. Just the wound mechanic is
so good.
It's so important because there were one or two battles in the previous game where I just couldn't do it. So I just set Commando Sentinel Medic and sat there for a long time.
Yep. In this new game, it solves the problem of an RPG where there's no MP, right? So, the previous game did not have any kind of sense of, attrition. There was no attrition. If you play your cards right, halfway through the battle, if you play your cards right and do some smart playing, you can be at full health with full buffs. Basically, you're at the exact state you were at the beginning of the game. And in this game, you can't do that.
They tried to fix that in a few battles in the previous game by having Bartandalus cast Doom on you if you took too long. But you can't do that for every battle, and the wound mechanic is such an elegant fix to that problem.
Yeah, and like in the first game, you could like theoretically soft lock. Like if one of the I forget the name of the I think it was Sid who had the multiple forms, and one of the forms he had paradigms, and those paradigms, one of them was a healer. If you did not have the damage output to do more than his healing, but you had the healing output to not die through his damage, you're basically soft locked. You can't progress, but you can't die either. And the wounds also fix that from even being a possibility.
It makes it more like a normal game. It takes it. I mean, most of the things in this game take a bit of the edge off of FF13's extreme unique vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like, adding wound means that battles aren't a possibly endless tug of war. They are more like RPG battles.
Yeah.
Right. But like, that's okay. They already made FF13. Take a bit of that. And when I say the edge off, I don't mean they made it less weird, because they made it equally or more weird. But it definitely feels like FF13 : the video game.
Yeah. And it in all of the ways, like specifically with wound, but also with like the Pokemon and other stuff to it, it changes it, makes it more normal, but it doesn't make it like just an active time battle normal ass Final Fantasy. Like, it still feels like you're playing Final Fantasy 13, and you're still making all of those like dance like push and pull. When do you paradigm shift? What do you do? Those sorts of cool things that it did, but also it just kind of works better, and it's dope. And
you know what? I think we can maybe bring in a Tim Rogers concept here. Tim Rogers has the concept of over design that he establishes in his Xenoblade Chronicles 2 review, which over design isn't, he didn't coin those words, but the way that he describes it in that game, he's like, yeah, over design. An over design game is a game where there's a few too many things going on at any time for you to like really be 100% grasping it. And FF13, the first one, was not over designed.
Yeah.
And, like, you knew exactly what was going on. It was kind of a lot, but you managed to grasp it. And the game's like, you know what's going on. You either figure it out or you die. This game's got that over design going on, but instead of making it more complex, and I feel this way about, for example, the Saga games, if you throw enough at the player, they'll stop trying to understand it and will start just going with the flow. So it makes the game feel actually a lot more light on its feet, despite having a lot more going on mechanically. If you're given 3 different choices and you got to pick one, you're going to obsess over which choice is the best. But if you're given 100 choices and you got to pick one, you're just going to pick one that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, I don't exactly know which of these pokes are the best. They all have different natures. You can level them up a million different ways, but like, fuck it, this one seems good. Let's just go with this one. Seems good. You know?
Yeah. Like in a there are a bunch of RPGs that give you like skill points that level up, like how Mass Effect does it, and you have your 5 stats and you put them wherever. It's real easy to Google what should I do at every level and figure it out, and then you're not actually doing anything with all of those things. But there's enough here where it's like, if I were writing a guide, I would not tell you, hey, do this at every level up and level up your Pokemon this way, because you might not have those Pokemon and you might not have those items, and it's because there's so much more shit going on, you kind of just do your best, and it's
more
dope.
improvisational. You just do the best with what you got and try to figure it out, and you have a real fun time doing it, and you don't dive into the fucking wiki to figure out the most perfect thing to be doing at any given time. I will say, for the record, I went online. There are very obviously perfect builds, or at least ideal builds for Sarah and Noel. I mentioned it last time. You always want to make sure that you're giving Noel the H or the attack bonus. You want to make sure I was giving Sarah the magic bonus. There's a certain guide that tells you what each character is definitely better at certain classes than others. And what I mean by that is if you try to make Sarah a healer, you'll notice that she gets Cure, and then way later she gets like Curasa or something. Mm. So she jumps from like level 1 spell to level 3 spell, but she doesn't ever like get Cura. And then her maximum heal spell is like the second to best one. Whereas if you look at Noel's, he's a much better healer. So for each of those 2 characters, for each of the 6 classes, they're never terrible. It's never like FF13 where it's just like, oh, it costs a bazillion points to get this shit and it sucks. It's just like, nah, you're just not quite as good. Like, yeah, you can still heal, but you're not going to have all the good spells or all the good passive bonuses. So there's a guide that shows whether each of the 2 characters is basically good, medium, or not so good at each of the 6 classes, which is a helpful guide. But if you look at, there is no guide for the Pokemon. There isn't. I looked it up. At no point is someone like, here's a guide of every single monster in this game and what all the natures are and what all of their sphere grids look like and what bonuses they get. It's not a thing. Because I think it's because A, it's too fucking much, and B, the game isn't particularly popular or widely played. So there's just never been enough demand to put in the effort, which is great because I'm not going to go look it up. Yeah, it doesn't exist. There's no temptation for me to do that. I just gotta do my fucking best because there's no fucking way I could go spreadsheet on it. It's great. It's freeing. It's liberating.
And it's a Final Fantasy game, and Final Fantasy games are famous for when you get to the last, like, third of the game, they're just like, yeah, you've made it this far. You earn being ridiculously overpowered, and so even if things are hard and stuff like that, you never have to min max in a Final Fantasy game. Like, so because of that, there probably has never been a reason to find the perfect Pokemon to get the thing, because whichever one you get in the last zone, if you pump in whatever items Chocolina's selling you in the last zone, you're good enough, and that's probably fine.
And again, like if you look at FF13, that game has been taken to pieces, which is also cool. For the record, I do respect that, and I appreciate the people who put all the effort into breaking apart this game's weird systems. But the fact that no one's even had the inclination or effort to bother with this game because it's just too fucking much and it's not that popular is honestly so cool.
Yeah. I love it.
This game rules.
It really does. And I also, so the first the prologue episode or whatever, I thought was going to I thought this game was going to be worse narratively than it ended up being, because they threw a lot of bullshit at you to get you started on it. But once you get started on the bullshit, it's actually a really like cool, like whodunit mystery sort of road movie vibe, and I'm actually way more dialed into the things that are happening on my screen now than I was in 13.1. And
Bernard, there's a chance I may have spaced out a little bit, but I don't think I did. Did you cover like why it is that the future can affect the past, even though that seems backwards?
No. Was that explained this episode?
I don't think that was explained.
Maybe that's in the stuff you played ahead.
Okay, so I figured it out while playing this stuff, but it might be that stuff that I played ahead informed a little bit of what I was thinking, and that helped me figure it out. I'll just go ahead and tell you. They don't explicitly say this, but I think that with a little more info, you can figure it out. It's really brilliant, because, like, that's backwards from how it normally works. Most time travel stories are all about how the past butterfly affects the future, right? Mm-hmm. It's because of prophecies. If you change what happens in the future, then you're literally changing what happens when the prophet in the past sees the future. she sees a different prophecy because she's seeing what actually happened. So if you change what actually happens, she sees it. Yeah, so it's a reverse causality because of the idea of prophecy.
That's really cool.
You don't often
Isn't that
get time
brilliant?
travel stories where prophecy is a thing. I can't think of one off the top of my
I've never seen
head.
that before.
Because usually prophecy is the realm of fantasy and time travel is the realm of sci-fi.
They took two common sci-fi fantasy tropes, time travel and prophecy, and by putting them together, invented a completely new premise.
It's actually really cool.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. You could cause a prophet. You could cause a ancient civilization to destroy itself when maybe before it didn't. By maybe your time machine only goes forward, or you just haven't unlocked the ability to go back there. Okay, fine. You change something in the future, make them see a prophecy that spooks them, and bam, you destroyed an ancient civilization. Or saved it, right? Like, oh, what a cool idea.
That's really cool.
Love to make time travel even more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, although it's super complicated, it's a lot more interesting than the going to Grand Pulse, where the Pulse Foul C makes a list C that turns into a Seath. So
yeah, now we don't have a foul C, we have a far to seer.
Yeah.
Notice I did it like Japanese, where it's like the same letter.
Yeah. This game is great, and I'm like, when I decided that we were going to be doing the 13 trilogy for LongCast, I expected the first game to be good, actually, the second game to maybe suck, and then everyone that I know says the third game is actually great, and so I figured that would be fun. But so far I'm loving the second one a whole lot, and it's definitely earning its spot as in the spotlight of LongCast, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will share two more quick mums because I finally found them. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So I found a game FAQs of the game script, but it must be incomplete because some of the dialogue trees it has every branch, and some of them it seems like it doesn't. Unfortunately, but I do know that when you first meet Hope, you can ask a few different things, and one thing you can ask is, how come you look so old? And if you ask that, I don't have the full script, but I do have a screenshot that I managed to take where Hope says in a very condescending voice, "Well, Sarah, you've traveled 7 years into the future, and though it's been a relatively short period for you, I've continued to age at the normal rate." And then there's like, no, I meant like, wow, you're all grown up. I wasn't literally literally asking why you were old. I was just like, wow, I can't believe you're so old. Like, God, what do you think I'm stupid or something? And like,
that's cute.
Yeah, it's really good. And then the other one is just a little line of dialogue from an NPC where a male soldier goes, "The older folks are always going on about how much they miss life on Cocoon. I can't empathize with them. In my opinion, living on a world floating in the sky is not only dangerous, but downright scary. I moved to Pulse when I was just a kid. I don't remember much, if anything, about life on Cocoon." That's relatively banal, but I like it. All the NPC dialogue is really good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite NPC dialogue continues to be when you get on a chocobo after you do the thing and you're trying to just go and collect collectibles or whatever. Every NPC is just like, "Wow, looks like fun."
I had not tried that. That's fun.
It's great. Like, it's like this same voice line from every single NPC, and every single one has to come and be like, "She's got the right idea," and it's so good.
Oh, I've got a tip I need to give y'all. It's very important. Because I played a little bit of the other chapter, I unlocked a new ability called Moogle Throw. Which is fun. It's what it sounds like. If you see a treasure chest off in the distance, you can literally just throw your Moogle to go grab it. And you can do that if it's something that you can reach. You just don't feel like going over there, or if it's something that you can't reach, because levels are going to be designed like that. I made a lot of use of it this week, but when I was in the dark segment, I had a problem that y'all would not have had because y'all didn't unlock this ability, but you might have this in the future, so I just need to warn you for your own good. If your Koopo is thrown away from you, it drastically reduces the rate at which the little timer goes down when enemies appear before you get into a battle. So it's a lot harder to avoid battles. Now, why is this important? It's important because if you're forced into a battle because the meter goes all the way down,
you game over.
You game over. And this game is actually relatively this game lets you quick save at any time, but is relatively stingy with its autosaves. So you can lose significant progress. So if you're going to be using when I was in the dark area, remember? You got to stay in the light, otherwise enemies appear. Combine the lights moving with I wanted to throw the Koopo, and you get I game overed. So start learning to quick save often, because the option is either that or don't use the Moogle Throw. The Moogle Throw is really fun and good. You just want to make sure you don't actually own yourself.
I would like to throw a Moogle.
Yeah, so when you throw the Moogle, you are in danger of most of the time it doesn't really matter that much because the battle's not that hard. But remember, in the dark zone, the battle that you get into is like impossible.
Big ass behemoth, yeah.
So yeah, just be careful about that. Don't be like me, kids.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, if you like what you heard today, you can check us out on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where every donation goes to making us play more of these long-ass games. We are currently trying to play a short-ass game of Metal Gear Solid 1, so go and donate and force us to do that. And if we unlock Metal Gear Solid 1, our next LongCast is Dragon Quest VII, which is super duper long.
Oh boy.
Go give us homework, folks. But other than that, next week we'll be playing probably just episode 3.2. But
I believe it will be plenty.
Yeah, we'll announce if it's more than that, but it's probably what we're going to do. So for RPG Book Club Longcast, I've been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye, everybody.